Hello and welcome to the Hancock Creative Podcast. I'm Shawn Hancock.
And I'm Missy Hancock.
And I'm Tessa Raven Bain.
And today we're going to be talking about Audacity.
Oh, yeah. So, there is one element in life that without it, you just almost can't pursue your creativity. And it doesn't specifically have anything directly to do with creativity or art, but it is crucial. That element is Audacity. Audacity, that's right. But it used to be almost exclusively perceived as a negative thing, and that's shifting. But when we were growing up, it was a negative thing. It was like,
oh, the audacity.
Oh my God.
That was obnoxious.
It was. We thought it would be really fun to say that together in hideous voices. The audacity. You know, some things are better in your head. But anyway, we looked it up today, and the very first definition is the willingness to take bold risks. And I really don't think that if I had like a 1974, well, I would have been 4 years old, but you know, if I had a 1974 Webster's Dictionary, I really do think, yes, to be very specific, because I like to be specific about things. I know when I was a kid, it always meant something negative. And the negative definition is rude or disrespectful behavior, impudence. And so she had the audacity, the impertinence, that kind of bad manners, effrontery. That's a weird word. Effrontery. Effrontery. Never mind.
It's like when you work in the food industry and somebody comes up to you and there's like something very minuscule wrong with whatever you gave them, and they say, remake this. This is trash, and it hurts your feelings a lot. That's what it's like. That's the negative. Like the audacity. That's what I think of. It's like when someone has the audacity to point out the most small thing and build themselves up and be proud enough to point out things that are.
That's
Yeah, well, that can be hurtful. I can see that.
I feel like that didn't apply.
But if you were if you're like on the other end of that, and you're like, just this minor thing, I really wish I could go up and say something about it. And then you're just like, build yourself up. I'm building up my audacity.
Yeah.
To go up and confront them. Sometimes it doesn't take that for some people, though.
Yeah, I think
and it depends what the small thing is. If the small thing is spit or hair, that's not a small thing.
Also,
but if the
I
small
think
thing is, I don't really think when you made this coffee for me, I don't think that you really got your flour frothy stuff quite right. No, you know what I mean. But
no, yeah, I know. I think that it also depends on how you present yourself and always acting out of kindness.
Yes.
But I think that it can go both ways. Like Dad was saying, it's like if somebody got your drink wrong, then say something. And it's usually not a big deal. Like if somebody got your order wrong, if somebody gave you the wrong plate of food, say something.
Yeah.
It's better that way.
Yes. Which we failed to mention that Tessa Raven Bain is our daughter. Right. Yes. So Tessa, she just said dad. So I thought
she's talking about me, people. Me.
Not you.
Not you.
Me.
But we wanted to have her on with us today specifically because she's an incredible artist and an audacious artist. And
good audacity.
Probably one of the most audacious people I've ever met in a good way. I mean, from like, yeah, because you're awesome.
It's just a coincidence that
she's related to us.
Yeah, that you birthed her.
Yes, exactly. Because, I mean, I think that a ton of other people who follow you and follow your art would agree with us that you're audacious in a good way. And, I mean, it's been that way since she was like 2 years old and decided she was picking her own clothes. She was dressing herself, damn it. And it would not be things that matched. And I would go, okay. Yeah, and she'd put them on, and then she would look so darn cute. And I'd be like, well, damn, girl, you make it work. I didn't really say that to my 2-year-old, but I thought. I did think, damn,
I wish
girl,
you did.
Those
damn,
plaids.
girl.
Well, I did say, you actually make that plaid and stripe work together, and I didn't expect that. But you always shocked me and have always been your own self. So why do we need Audacity?
Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
Specifically for art.
Yeah, specifically as creative
Well,
beings.
I think that specifically for creating, you have to be audacious to even get past the point of, this sucks. What I did, this sucks.
Yeah.
And be audacious enough to work past that and say, this might not be the exact thing I wanted to make, but it still has worth.
Yes.
And I should still show it, and I should still work toward that exact thing that I want and show it.
Yeah.
Beyond feeling whatever you feel and insecure and like, oh, what I made, it's not exactly what I wanted and it's not exactly perfect, but I mean,
you have to own it though. Once
you
it's
own
done,
it.
you own it, and then
without Audacity, you might not ever even finish anything or keep going. Like you said, you won't get beyond this sucks.
Well, it's a part of creativity in the sense of that you want to be bold in coming up with a new idea or a new thought, or even if maybe it's not new for anyone but you still like stepping out of your comfort zone.
You have to
make something new and exciting. That's what creativity is. It's new and exciting.
And you have to get past that being scared of making a mistake, because once you get into the mistakes, that's where you find where you really want to be.
Yes. Well, we just hosted an art show last night, and that was one of the themes was the artist was saying, oh, on this one, I heard her tell on this one, I messed up, but I kind of liked it. And so, I mean, the beauty is in the mistakes often. That's how creativity works. And it takes audacity to make the mistakes. It takes audacity to acknowledge or see the beauty in the mistakes.
It
and
takes
it takes audacity to put it out there.
It takes audacity to honor your instincts too. It's like you can just put stuff out, and I think that's, for me, has been the best way to work, is that I just have to put stuff out and work, even if it doesn't turn out good. Even if it's not something that I would keep or show, or you work and get all of that stuff out, because it's part of getting in the motion of being a creative person. It's like a train or something. You have to, like, once you start, it's slow, but then once you get going, it's hard to stop.
You got your momentum.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You had mentioned something about not while we're recording, but earlier you had mentioned something about Tessa's work at an art show that had mixed reception, or however you'd say that, and you were talking about that.
Well, can I share that, Tessa?
Yeah.
She had a piece. So you'll have to go look up what's the best place for people to look up and see your art, Tessa.
Probably my website, tessaravenart.com, or I post like more recent stuff and like daily stuff on my Instagram, which is @traves.
Yes, on Instagram. So for those of you who have never seen Tessa's work, you go look and you'll immediately kind of understand where I'm coming from, because she created this one piece. She was doing Girly Show, which was an awesome woman's art show that several really cool ladies in Oklahoma City hosted for
10 years.
10 years. I couldn't remember if it's 10 or 11. And so I think it was one of the last years they did Girly Show. She had a booth and she had her art, and she had done this piece called Icy Hot is what she entitled it. And it was this emaciated blue woman, if I remember right, with kind of like horsey teeth. And she was, skeletal.
She's beautiful.
She was skeletal.
She had a pot belly.
And she was, okay. She was emaciated.
She was skeletal and had a pot belly. It was a talent.
And she was wearing a bikini. And you could not take your eyes off of her. I mean, that's all I can say. She was awesome. It was a really cool piece of art, but she was not pretty. It was like, oh. And so the thing that I loved, that I enjoyed so much about helping Tessa with that show, was seeing her just own her art, and having pieces that were not in any realm traditional beauty, but yet they were magnetic. I mean, you couldn't not look at them. And whether you liked it or not, you couldn't look away. And I loved it that one of the afternoons of the show, I went to get us drinks, and when I came back, she was like, "Mom," and she's like tickled pink. She goes, "Mom, this guy, when you're gone, he just came around the corner and he saw Icy Hot. He saw my painting, and he goes, oh."
He's like,
and instead of like, okay, so as her mother, I'm this like people-pleasing human that was like, oh, and because if someone had done that about my work, I would have wanted to run away and cry. But she was giggling about it. She thinks it's hilarious. It's like my art evoked a little
like grotesque
like horror, little
And that may not be what I was wanting, but it was definitely a strong response, which is good.
Which is good. Yes.
Something.
I love it that people can't ignore it. There's a lot of people making art that is easy to like not pay any attention to. So it's really fun.
A bad response is even better than no response. If you have a show and nobody says anything, then it's kind of, I don't know, not satisfying. It's almost better if somebody hates your stuff than it is if somebody just has no opinion of it.
Yeah, and I've seen people stand and look at it, and their faces are so, I just love watching their faces, because at first it's just disgust. Like, even like people have passed by, they're like, what? And then they get closer and they're like, I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
I kind of like it.
Like, their faces change. It's like,
maybe this is good. Maybe I do like it.
Well, and we were talking about, you said you read something recently about the Prometheus statue.
Yeah. There's in front of the Rockefeller Center, I guess down, where it has the ice skating rink. There's this gold statue, and it's Prometheus, which I guess he stole fire from the gods and brought it down to the people, or some, mythology. That didn't really happen.
It might have.
Maybe it did.
I mean,
I
don't know. You don't know. You
So-
don't know.
I wasn't there. You weren't there. You don't know. Anyway, so when they first put that up, which 30s maybe, and I'm not sure when it was exactly, but it was mocked, and people didn't really, some people didn't really receive it very well. They thought he looked like he was jumping out of a hot bowl of soup or something, and they had called him Leaping Leonard or something like that. Because he looks like he's like leaping up out of hot bowl soup. I don't know. But anyway, it's an iconic.
We would never think of that as there would be anything audacious about making that statue. It's like, oh, that's fine art. That's or like the Eiffel Tower. You said the Eiffel Tower was
Eiffel Tower was the same thing. You had ridicule at first, but then eventually it grew on people, and people love it, and you could not possibly take that away. I mean, the Nazis left it alone. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So Audacity creeps in where we don't even realize that they were being audacious, these artists, and they were. I mean, I think one artist that we all still think of, I think, as audacious was Picasso, because he just was. He was pushing it.
Yeah.
And he liked that about it. But I don't know. I like it that Audacity, sometimes for some people it can lead you to challenge the conventions of beauty, and that's good. That needs to be challenged.
Right. Well, we grow as a human race. I think whenever artists are challenging our ideas, we kind of get settled, and we think we know what we know, and
what we like,
and that sort of thing. And life just starts getting boring. And artists are always there to say, no, I think we should look at this a little bit differently, and introduce a new thing for us to like get upset about or freak out about, and then eventually we're like, well, you know what? That's a good point. And it's just like your art, where people are just like, that's the ugliest woman I've ever seen, but I think she's beautiful.
But I like her. And I want to hang her on my wall and look at her every day.
So I kind of wanted to touch on that. Whenever you are audacious, you make yourself vulnerable. And I think that's probably one of the biggest obstacles people have to not be more bold. It's really challenging to them because they make themselves vulnerable. I mean, of course, if you think of a courageous act, like somebody running into a burning building to rescue someone, that person is putting themselves at risk. And that's always the case when you do something bold or do something courageous. You make yourself vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability is good for creativity. It's good for the personal artist, you know.
Because it ends up helping you be more honest.
Yeah.
If art isn't honest, it's almost nothing good.
Yeah.
If it's not saying something that is specific to you, even in an abstract way. I feel like I'm not always saying something specific with my art, but I'm always in that place of vulnerability when I'm making something. Yeah. And especially putting it out for people to see.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable.
And I mean, what wins them over is if you stand by it. You put it out there and then you own it and you stay there with confidence. And while the critics are calling it crap, you say, I like it.
It's not.
It's not.
It's bold. It's a blah, 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 whatever, you know, artist. It often sounds pretentious, but, you know, it's their way of like defending their weird thing that they did or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what wins them in the end. It's the confidence.
If you were to say, oh yeah, you're right, it's stupid, I don't like it.
I'll take it down.
I'll take it down.
Well, then no one else would see it.
Well, you don't get anybody to like support you that way. You know, people don't believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So.
Especially for me, when I'm at an art show and I'm showing my work and someone comes up to me and they ask me about the painting and we have an actual conversation about it, it makes them like it more.
Yeah.
I've sold so many paintings that way where they're like, so what were you thinking about this? And they're like, and I'm like, well, I mean, maybe this means a little bit of this to me, or maybe it means a little bit of that to me. But then they ended up telling me what it means to them, and it just creates this back and forth idea, and the painting becomes an idea in their head. And
it becomes more to them than just a painting at that point. Yeah.
So you have to be audacious to sell yourself. You have to say, I mean, act confident in your ideas and have value on them and have a worth on your ideas, because no one else is going to do it for you, I guess.
Oh man, that's the truth. That is the truth. Ain't nobody doing that for you.
So another aspect that we were going to talk about for Audacity is the kind of audacity that Missy's sister has.
Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about my sister. Her name's Tama Clark Haynes, and she owns and operates Europe's largest antique shopping tour business. I think that's how you would word it. But
that sounds good.
We'll go with that. She goes by the Antiques Diva, and she is an incredibly driven human being and incredibly nice, but also just so ballsy in that she's constantly... God. Okay, so
I have a story.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
When I went to Paris with her, we went to Shakespeare and Company, and upstairs for years, the owner, Walt Whitman's, I think his name was George Whitman.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
Like his grandson or something?
Yeah, he would host these tea parties on Sunday every week, and my aunt knew about them. She had never been, but she had always wanted to go, and it was usually just for like people that were staying there. At Shakespeare and Company, they have writers work and live there.
Which Shakespeare and Company, for those who don't know, is a really famous bookstore in Paris.
We saw people going upstairs, and it was like, oh, it's tea time. And my aunt, she took my hand and she's like, let's go. Let's just go. Let's just go up there. And we were not invited, but we walked in. Everyone accepted us warmly. They were like, how did you know about this? And we were like, oh, you know, so-and-so. But we ended up having like this great conversation and tea and meeting new people, and they actually had us write a little bio about ourselves to put in their logs of people that had come and visited and been to the tea parties. And he didn't live too many more years after that. No, it was about
cool.
Yeah, 3 years later that he died. And it was a really cool experience. He came out in his pajamas and bedhead like crazy. And it was one of the best experiences that I've had, because it's crazy what you experience when you just say, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen? They're going to say, you're not invited, which I mean, who just says you're not invited. Like,
then they would be being audacious.
They would be being audacious, and that would be okay.
That would be okay, because that's the worst thing that could happen. You go, you're right, I'm not invited.
I didn't get invited.
I just wanted to come so badly.
I just really wanted to come. And then they'd be like, "Aw, well, that's sweet. You can come anyway."
Your sister gave Kira some advice.
Yes,
our other daughter, Kira.
So my sister Tama gave so her and her husband have given each of our children, when they turn 16, a trip to Europe, because they have lived in Europe for the last 15 years or something. So when the kids, each of our children turn 16, they get to go spend like 6 weeks in the summer in Europe with them, and they take them all over the place. And when Kira went, and Kira is really seemingly for our children mild-mannered, a little more reserved and polite. She dresses a little more conservatively, not significantly, because she has her own like retro style going, but she's less bold, I guess.
Which is funny because she's an actress.
Well, and she is so bold in some ways, but
yes.
But you just don't.
If you get her brother's opinion of her, you might get a different, description.
They've always butted heads.
They've butted heads. But anyway,
with love.
But Tama took her when she was in Europe with Kira. They were going to some event that Kira was really anxious and felt really uncomfortable about.
It was probably something really fancy.
I think so, if I remember right. And Tama she could tell how nervous Kira was, and she just told her, she said, "You know what I do when I'm going into a situation that I don't feel real comfortable, that I'm not sure of myself? I just say, I own this place."
I own this room.
I own this room. And I have watched Kira in the time since she's come back from Europe apply that in her life over and over again as she's auditioned and done different things with her own art that is like, wait, I own this place. So next time you want to do something audacious, take a deep breath. Yeah. Thank you, Tessa, for demonstrating a deep breath.
You can let it out now.
I will now demonstrate a deep breath.
And say, I own this place. I own this room. And you just go in and you own it.
So that, both these stories come down to the old adage, it is easier to get forgiveness than permission.
Yes, that's my favorite.
I don't know, that might rub some people wrong, but we've kind of lived our lives with that in mind.
And it is easier to get forgiveness than permission.
It's true, yes.
As soon as you let people know, I'm letting you have a say over my life, there are people who get a great big giant ass head about it.
Yeah, just post any question on Facebook, anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes, that's true. And so that must be my hate relationship with Facebook. It's like, I do not give a rat's ass what you people are saying right now. Not that I don't care what you're saying. But
it sounds like you just said you didn't.
Well, I don't about that when people get... Anyway. So
it's usually something very irrelevant.
Yeah,
that's right.
But, yeah, it is easier to get forgiveness. And then another good thing that we wanted to point out was, I know Dr. Wayne Dyer says it. I don't know who else says it. And I don't know who originally said it, but he's often attributed for it. And it's, what other people think of me is none of my business. And that alone. You don't like that one?
No, I like it.
Oh,
it's like a good, but it sounded like a bad.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. No, that was a good. It was like, oh,
yeah. What other people think of me is none of my business. That's a mantra for me sometimes, because I really want people to like me, and sometimes people just don't, and that's okay. It's okay if people don't like you, or it's okay if people don't agree with the decisions you make. It's okay if people think you should be living your life differently than you've chosen to live your life. If you should make your art differently than you've chosen to make your art, it's okay if they think that you should be doing things differently, because it's none of your business what they think, and it's none of their damn business what you do. And so you just have to get to a place where you're just like, you know what? You can think what you want, but I'm living my life. And if they're smart, they'll live theirs.
Yeah.
That is audacity, owning your own life and living it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a Ray Bradbury quote that I really, really like, that I repeat to myself pretty much every day, which is don't think. Thinking is the enemy of creativity. It's self-conscious, and anything self-conscious is lousy. You can't try to do things. You simply must do things.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
That's my quote to live by.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to slip into, I'm a perfectionist, so if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it and make it perfect, or I'm not going to do it at all, which is why my house is a mess. And that is such a wrong way of thinking when it comes to art, because you have to allow yourself to make mistakes and work and release that self-consciousness to get anywhere and find any good thing from your art.
You're overthinking it. You just won't do anything.
Like I'll sit there, and when I'm overthinking, I'll sit there and I won't even make a line. I had an art teacher once say, I was sketching for a painting, and he looked at me and he was like, "You're all up in here," and pointed at his head. "You need to be here," and just waved his hand around like drawing. You just need to be, you're in here, but you need to be on the paper like this.
Yeah.
Just always getting it out. And I feel like whenever I'm the most blocked is when I need to remember that the most.
Yeah, when you're just stuck in your head.
Yeah, even when I do put stuff down, it's so terrible, in my opinion. I'll put it down and I just won't like anything that I do. But if I push through that phase, and it's so weird because it's almost like art therapy where people will make muddy pictures.
Yeah.
It feels like I have to make a muddy picture to get past that, to get it all out and unclog before I can have any good ideas or any real, honest, true thoughts that aren't just residual negativity or self-consciousness or too much thinking.
Yeah.
It needs to be simpler. Just do it.
Yeah.
You gotta like detox.
Yes, detox.
Get all that shit out yourself.
Get all that shit out yourself.
So Audacity, we have determined, is just vastly important in so many ways. We've covered a lot of different ways. You had told me that there was another way that Audacity applied, and you said it was the difference between you and me. And so...
Well, it's kind of contradictory to Wayne Dyer's quote there.
Oh, is it?
But we'll roll with it. Anyway, the difference between you, Missy, and me...
Shawn.
is that you will say, "Look what I made. Isn't it great?" And I will not say anything, and I will just take what I make and just casually lay it someplace obvious for somebody to trip over, and I'll just wait for somebody to say something to me. And so I mean, it's
not contradictory to his quote. To me, that quote, "What other people think of you is none of your business," is about like the masses' opinion of you, your mother-in-law's opinion of you, random. What you're talking about is just needing input, like at a personal level. And we all do that. We all are like...
Your audacity in the sense of that you will just straight out ask somebody, "What do you think about this?" Or actually, tell them.
I'm sorry to say, I do not. I tell them it's great.
You say, "It's great.
I just made. Isn't it great?" And what do they say
it's
to you?
It's not really asking. I mean, it is a question, but it's not really asking. But mine is more not audacious. Mine is just sort of like, here it is. You might like it. I don't know. And it's not very audacious.
Mine is much more rewarding.
Absolutely.
Because whether they agree with me or not, who is going to tell me when I'm saying, "Look what I did, isn't it great?" That sucks. No one's going to do that. So I end up feeling better about myself.
We have a few friends that might, but
well no, we
distance ourselves somewhat.
Yeah. I think that's part of owning whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that, like, in some circumstances, someone will show something to someone that they made, and they'll be like, "I don't know what I think about it. I'm probably just going to throw it away. And this sucks. This part's not good." And just critique it to death until that other person's like,
"Yeah, I see
fine.
what you're saying.
I see what you're saying." That's happened to me before.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I critique it to death, and then they give a response that's adequate to what I'm saying, and it's like, yeah, it's not that bad. It's fine. It's good. And I want them to be like, that's amazing.
And then you're like, how dare you?
I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? But if
how dare you? But
you set them up for that. You told them.
I set them up for that. Yeah. If I come up to them and I say, look at what I made, I'm really proud of this, or maybe not even that, but just like, look,
isn't it great?
Isn't it, it's this is this thing that I made and I spent a lot of time on, and they're gonna be like, yeah, that's great. And it actually, I feel like it really does change their perception of that thing.
Oh yes, because you feel good. Well, I mean, this has got to be its own complete topic and episode, but I do just want to make a short mention of it. We overuse and we overextend the invitation to criticize to other people. And it's not that a critique of your work is not valuable, but a critique is a very delicate, serious thing that you are very choosy of who you're getting a critique from. And I've watched people at art shows, the artists, like you said, and it's usually just totally motivated out of insecurity, but immediately be like, I'd like your critique on this. Give me your, and it's like, I'll just tell anyone who's listening and someone asks you in that setting, I'd like your critique on this. Okay, stop yourself. Most people have the sense to do this, but think about the environment you're in. This is being shown already. This is where you're at when someone is there.
This isn't art school.
It's wonderful. It's great. I mean, you don't have to say it's wonderful and great if you don't think it is, but you find something positive to say. You don't give them a critique at that point, because that's just going to make them want to shoot themselves, because they just put it out there for all these people to look at. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so humiliated. You don't want to do that to anyone. And as artists, for the creative people who are listening, I just implore you, beg you, do not extend that to people. That's like asking to be abused. Don't extend an invitation to be
do it in a private setting, or
do not
from somebody you respect.
Somebody definitely from someone you respect, because any opinion from somebody that has no authority on the subject is going to be hurtful more than constructive.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that, like I said, that's its own topic, but it's something that I watch people do, and then they're hurt. It really does damage.
You certainly don't want to fish for a compliment with a negative attitude.
That's true.
If you're going to fish for a compliment, at least
isn't this great?
Isn't this great? Like me.
I'm getting that printed on a T-shirt. Isn't it great?
Look what I just did. Isn't it great?
Okay, so I have a question. How do you become more audacious if you're not audacious at all? What's one of the first things?
We had talked about it. It just depends on where you are.
I say start by putting chips on your sandwich.
Well, if you want that.
If you can't put chips on your sandwich with confidence, then that's where you got to start. You got to start right there.
I just have to say the chips on the sandwich, I think, is a male thing, because, I mean, he said
you
this
can do
to
the
me
equivalent.
earlier.
Whatever the female equivalent of putting chips on sandwiches.
He pretty much adore chips on sandwiches.
No, I'm not saying that. I like chips on my sandwich. You're like, okay, I think an audacious act, like a first step, would be chips on the sandwich. To which Vinton, the awesome gentleman who's sitting here quietly with us today, my daughter's husband, who produces the show, when Shawn mentioned that, or when I mentioned that earlier, he goes, yeah, chips on the sandwich. And I'm going, okay, so let's think, Tessa, what would be a female,
just like wearing something you wouldn't wear, or something you
bought.
You
want to wear hats. I know.
You want to wear hats. You want to wear scarves.
I want to wear hats. Yeah, do it. Put that hat on, girlfriend. You're going to look pretty. You're going to look sassy.
Own it.
Own it. That's right. Wear the red lipstick. I mean, so many people will be like, I love red lipstick. It looks so good on you, because I've always worn red lipstick. And I'll have people go, sometimes I know it's kind of an insult, but where they're going, I could just never wear red lipstick. And I kind of think they may be telling me, you shouldn't either.
And you're thinking, Yeah, I can see that about you.
but no, really. But so many women are like, I wish I could wear red lipstick, but they're scared to. It's like, darn it, if you wish something, do it. That is how you start being more audacious. And I think that's a really good first step for the female mind. as opposed, not.
I had no idea that chips on a sandwich was so masculine.
Quit gender rolling sandwiches.
I'm sorry. I'm just so stuck in my gender roles. No.
No, but I think that it can apply for both the genders. Is
dressing. Yes.
I mean, that's helped me. I've never really been that afraid of dressing however I want, but I've noticed that people come up to me because I have blue hair. They're like, I just wish I could do that, but I'm not brave enough. And I'm like, you should. Even like old ladies a lot. And I'm like, do it.
Be brave. Be bold.
My friend recently bought a fur coat and she loves it and wants to wear it, but she was like, I don't know. I was like, just own it. And now she wears it all the time. She's like, I was scared to wear this at first, but I look awesome. Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do, girl.
So the point being, do what you want to do.
Yes. Right? Yeah, do what you want to do. And eat in the smallest and biggest ways.
Yeah. Remind yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Somebody says no, and you walk away, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
And who is there to say no most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time there's
no one there.
There's no one to say no.
And sometimes if they do say no, you're like even more determined to do it anyway. If they don't,
sounds like me.
If they don't have,
yes, it does.
Don't really have the authority to say no, then you just want to do it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there you go. Is another reason not to ask. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Don't ask.
Yeah. But I feel like any good opportunity I've ever had was because I was scared and then said, no, I'm just going to do it. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up being like a really good opportunity for me, and I learned a lot, and it helped me grow as a person and as an artist. And so you just have to push yourself and make hard choices.
Yes. And you can do it. We believe in you. And we also want to thank you for listening to us. And we thank Tessa Raven for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! And Vinton Bain for recording us today and sitting so quietly.
He's so cute. Keep that in.
And if you would like to find out more about us, you can engage with us on Twitter at Hancock Creative. Look us up on Instagram, Hancock Creative Shop, on Facebook. I'm not terrific at manning my Facebook, but if that's your jam, find us on Facebook at Hancock Creative Shop, and I'll probably answer you a month late. Just to warn you. And oh my gosh, Thad reviewed us, and he is awesome. Thad Davis.
Thad Davis is my jam.
He is the man, but not the man that you don't like, the man that you do like.
Yeah. Not the man. The man.
The man, yeah. I bet at this point you can guess that was a completely impromptu song to Thad Davis, and not.
He always makes up songs for us.
But Thad,
they're usually better though.
Oh, they're much better than that one. But no, Thad Davis took time to review our podcast, and if you really hate it, I don't feel like you really need to go review it. But if you really love it, that'd be so cool. Thank you again. Bye.
Thanks.